Hello guys, Grumpy. Welcome back to another Feed the Beast tutorial. Today we're going to be covering the Thermopile and the sorting machine. They're both part of the Redpower 2 mod. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to cover the Thermopile first. It's right there. It's in the ground. And this is what... that's not it. Let's see, where is it? Ah, here it is. Thermopile. This is what it looks like in inventory. Let's go ahead and place one out in the world just so you can see what it looks like when it's not in the ground. There we go. So basically what this thing does, it takes a difference in temperature and converts it into electricity. So, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. So I have it in the ground and I put lava on one side and you put either water or ice on the other. It doesn't matter which. It produces the same amount of electricity whether you use water or ice, but basically put lava on one side and some form of water on the other and it generates electricity. We can verify this. So let's right click this blue alloy wire. And it generates 85 volts. And so one reason I want to show you this Thermopile is because, well, I've just never showed it before, but the advantage of this thing over a solar panel is it doesn't require sunlight. So let's say you're way underground and you need some blue electricity to run like a sorting machine. You can use these Thermopiles instead of solar panels. And I believe it puts out about as much power as a solar panel. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it does. But anyway, as you can see, this blue alloy wire comes over here and feeds the sorting machine. And I was going to show you real quick too. This Thermopile, not very complicated to make. You need some copper, a couple iron ingots, blue alloy ingot, blue doped wafer. Very simple. You can figure out how to make all that. You'll need a red alloy furnace, but you need that for most Redpower 2 stuff. But anyway, here's the sorting machine. That was pretty much the Thermopiles, not much to it. But here's the sorting machine. Now I have this thing set up in a default mode right now. And if you were just to build this machine, this is the exact setup you get over here. These are the mode buttons. And what I mean is by this thing's in default mode is these two buttons right here. I haven't changed them yet. So as you can see right here, it has 7 slots, and what happens is you see the slider right here. Every time I give this thing a redstone signal, the slider is going to move, and whatever's in this slot will get extracted from the chest. So right now, if I was to pulse it, you see that green lamp right there? It's going to pull a green lamp from that chest and send it out the back here to this pneumatic tube. So if we come over here, we can see a sorting machine out in the world. It's got a plus sign on one side and a dot on the other. The plus side is the input and the dot is the output. And so over here I have the plus side facing the chest, and just like any Redpower 2 machine, you can right click it with a screwdriver to rotate the faces. But anyway, once again, here's the sorting machine. So how's this thing work? Well, let's turn it on and we'll see it. Now I'm powering this thing with a timer right now, so this timer is going to pulse, like it sends out like a pulse every second. And so every second the slider is going to move. So let's go ahead and turn this on and we'll verify this. So every second the slider moves and it's going to extract whatever's in that column. So there you go. You can see items coming out. Now, I'm not going to cover all the modes because honestly most of these modes you'd probably never use them. But right now it's set up to default mode. And so I'm just going to cover the more popular modes, the modes that you're more likely to use. Like here's the default mode. Now there is a disadvantage to this mode. Let me show you what it is. Let me pull out these green lamps here. And this thing, you notice it just stopped. It's because there's no green lamps in here. So when we're in this default mode, which is actually called single step, any stack sequential. Now this default mode, first of all, let me cover this top button. It's got 3 modes. The first mode right here is called single step. So every time you pulse this thing, the slider moves 1. So if we want to extract all 7 items, we have to pulse this thing 7 times. The next mode is called automatic. Now what this does is it makes it automatically run even if you don't have a redstone signal. So we can verify this. We turn the timer off. Let's give this thing some inventory. And we'll see it's running now. It's actually running a lot faster than with the timer. So very handy. And so obviously what you'd use that mode for is if you don't want to, if you know the sorting machine is going to be running all the time, you'd never want to turn it off. you can just use the automatic mode. But anyway, next, let's go over this next mode. This next mode here is called single sweep mode. And so this mode right here requires a redstone single tube, but the difference is on this mode, it's going to sweep through here and do all 7 columns. So actually, you see if we stop the machine right here, so if we turn it on, give this thing a pulse, you'll see just 3 items came out. Because what happened is it was like right here, I believe, and it went pulled that out, then pulled that out, and then it stopped. So it just finished the sweep it was on. So if we pulse this thing now, we'll give it 1 pulse, turn it off, you're going to see 7 items come out. And as you can see, they're getting sorted. So we'll cover the sorting here in a second, how that works. But one more thing to note about this sweep mode. If you send this thing more than 1 pulse, like say if you send it 5 pulses really fast, it takes this thing time to step through all these columns. But this thing will remember how many pulses it received. So if we pulse this thing really fast 5 times, it's going to sweep 5 times, even after the pulses expire. So in other words, let me just turn on and show you. There's 1 pulse, 2 pulse, 3 pulse, 4 pulse. So this thing got 4 pulses. And so we ran out of stuff. So let's go over here and get some stuff. Now I have this set up here. These are all filters, and this is redstone tube right here. And so what happens is whenever I flip that switch, this redstone tube pulses all the filters, and all this stuff that got sorted goes back in this chest. So I built that for test purposes. So let's wait for all this to get back in here. There we go, and let's go ahead and grab all this. And now we're good to go again. Let's put these back in here too. There we go. So now we have it going. Now see, this machine remembered that I pulsed it 5 times. So that's why you saw it. Even though this is off, that's why it kept going. So that's why I wanted to point out, when it's in the sweep mode, it remembers all the pulses it received. So next, let's cover how this sorting works. So you can see right here, there's colors down here. Now this determines what color pipe it goes down. And so if I want to program that, I'll just left click there. It'll cycle through all the colors. If I right click, it'll go backwards. So right now I'm only using 7 columns. But anyway, this will send stuff down the white pipe, orange, magenta, blue, etc. So you can see I have all these colors over here. We've got white, orange, magenta, light blue, light green. It's the same color scheme as here. I just have them backwards. So whenever this thing like pulls the green lamp out, it'll go down the white path. So as you can see that here. Now to paint these pipes, what you'll need are paint brushes. You can see paint brushes right here. I got a couple of them. They're not very hard to make or use. So there's a lime paint brush, and there's a light blue paint brush. But let me show you the recipe. Basically, you're going to take a paint brush and you're going to combine it with whatever color paint you want to use. So there's light blue paint, and you can just look at all these in the recipe book to figure out what you need. You need light blue dye, a paint can, a couple flax seeds. Flax seeds, what I want to point out, if you know, usually you get wheat seeds if you go chop down grass. Well, with Feed the Beast or Tech It, you'll also get flax seeds, and you plant them just like wheat. When they grow and you harvest them, you get flax seeds, and that's what it's used for. It's used for making paint cans, and that's used to make paint brushes. Let's look at the paintbrush. I don't believe the paintbrush is very complicated at all. You need a wool and a stick, and that will produce a paintbrush. And you just mix it with paint. And so as you can see here, you'll need a paintbrush of every color that you plan on using. So right here, I have 8 colors. I need eight. I have 8 paintbrushes. So that was this here. So let's do that once again. This is called single step. It's just going to move the slider 1. Next mode is called automatic. It just automatically pulls stuff from the chest. And this one right here is called single sweep. Similar to single step, but instead of just moving one at a time, it's going to sweep through all the columns, and it's also going to remember how many pulses it's received. So when you run out of an item in an inventory, it's still going to work when it finally does receive that item. It'll remember how many pulses it got. Now I wanted to show you on this default mode. Before we move on, I'm going to show you this default mode, something on here. I can't remember if I point this out or not, but when this thing runs out of an item, it will stop. So if we go to this chest, if I pull out all of these green lamps, just turn this thing on. Now if we come over here, it has stopped because it's waiting for green lamps. So this default setup, it is not good for to be used as an ore processor, because ore processor, you don't know how many items you got. So this mode right here would be good for a factory. When you want to evenly distribute goods, this is the mode you want to use. In fact, let's come over here and show you something. Somebody asked me, I've actually been asked this 2 or 3 times, how do you sort items? Or not sort them, distribute them. So like, let's say these 5 chests right here, let's say they represent generators and you're running charcoal in them. You want to make sure they get evenly distributed. So here's the mode you would use. Let's turn this thing on. Let's watch what happens. So as we can see, they're getting evenly distributed. So that's what the default mode is actually good for. And when this thing does finally run out of inventory, it's going to stop. It will remember where it was at. It doesn't really matter, but it's going to evenly distribute all the items. That's what you like about that mode, or that's what I like about that mode. And so that right there, that mode is actually a single sweep. That's right here. And the one below it's changed from the default one. This is actually the second mode. This is called all stack sequential. And it'll wait for items, but it'll pull out up to an item at a time. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused here, but basically use this mode. This is the second mode. So let's go back to the default mode and I'll show you. This right here is the default mode. That mode is called anti-stack sequential. The very next mode is called all stack sequential. And this is what you use for evenly distributed items through a system. So now there's many more modes. I'll briefly cover all of them. I'm not going to go into depth because most of them won't be used, but I will mention them and you can do what you want with them. So here's the default mode on this button. Once again, it's called anti-stack sequential. Here is all stack sequential, and this is good for distributing items evenly. The next mode is called random all stack. It's the same as the previous mode, but it doesn't have a slider, so I'm not sure what that means. But I just copied this from a wiki. I wrote it down in a notebook, and I'm printing it out to you, or reading it to you. So you might want to just experiment around with this stuff. But anyway, here's the next mode. It's called it's random all stack. We covered that one. Here's any item. We'll pull any item starting with the top left. So this one right here, it doesn't pay attention to any of this. This one right here would be good for a sorting machine, sorting quarry. Because what this thing does, it's going to pull any item starting with the top left in the chest. So what it's going to do is pull this item first, and it's ignoring this sequence thing. It's just pulling stuff out of this chest. So this is the mode you'll use for ore processors and stuff. The next mode is called any item with default router. So actually this would be the one you're going to use for ore processor. This is exactly the same as the other one. Here's the difference though. As soon as I click this, let's go back. This was the any item mode, and this next mode is any item with default router. And so what happens here is it creates another path here. That should be nothing. Okay, it's right here. We have a black path, so we have a black tube right here. And so when your processor, you want to send some of your stuff to your this, some stuff to that, etc., etc. And there'd be some stuff that has no business going to the ore processor, like Maybe you run into a mine and you find a block of wood. You don't want to send the wood to the ore processor. And so what you would do is anything not programmed up here gets sent down to black path. So this is programmable too. We can set it to whatever color we want. I got it set for black. And so the next one is any item whole stack. There we go. Now you notice the sliders disappeared. Now what this thing does, it'll pull out up to a stack of whatever at a time. And finally, we've got any item whole stack with a router. And this is probably the one I would use for ore processor. So there's not really a whole lot of modes you're going to use. I'd use this one for an ore processor. So you got your query output. This is the mode I would use. So you send all your query output to a chest. You hook a sorting machine up to the chest, and you want to set it up just like this. Put the top button in single step mode, and put the bottom one in this mode. Any item whole stack with router. And so if you want, you can have this color column for one thing. And by the way, let me show you something here. Okay. Now if you notice I have green, or a green lamp and a block of ice. Just go ahead and turn this on so it happens. We'll see what happens here in a second. You see the ice came out. So you could put more than one item here, and so anything you want to go to the macerator you can put here, anything you want to go to your furnace here, anything recycler, whatever. You do it however you want, but that's the gist of the sorting machine. Sorry, it's a very complicated subject. I tried to be more comprehensive than I've seen most people be. Most people, they leave out all the modes because it's kind of hard to explain, but I did my best. Hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed this, you found it useful, please give it a like. It helps my channel, but videos get a lot of likes, lets me know to make more videos of that type. And so it's Grumpy. I appreciate all your support, and I just hit 4,000 subscribers, so I appreciate all you guys subscribing, watching, and all that kind of stuff. We'll see you next time. I did forget to mention one thing. I finally got a decent microphone. It's a blue Snowball. It's not top line or anything, but it's a heck of a lot better than what I had. But anyway, let me know if it's too loud or too quiet or anything like that, if I need to adjust it. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you watching.